Today I welcome you to spend some time with me as I wrap up a few projects that have been on my needles for quite some time and give some attention to new ones. Thank you Squarespace for sponsoring this video. I've been targeted on Instagram lately. I see so many before and after blocking reels, very dramatic ones. And I think we can all agree that it's very satisfying to see a project go from all scrunched up to very nicely relaxed. I don't think I've really ever had such a dramatic change in blocking with my projects since most of the time I'm working in stockinette. Okay, I guess maybe the lace on the two ranunculus sweaters I've done had an opening moment, but it doesn't really stick out in my head. I can't really remember feeling like, whoa, that made such a huge difference. I'm sure it did though. With sweater number 15, I'm fully expecting a noticeable change, of course, especially in the sleeves because they suck in so dramatically. The cables are nice and tight. So I'm hoping that they will loosen up in a nice way that we can all appreciate. Shamefully, I let this piece sit for quite some time before finding the time to block it. You know, life gets in the way. But today, I'm making it a priority, checking it off my to-do list, which feels really good. So I'll share a little bit of the before and after later, but I did want to show you my flowers because it's a great time to be a potted plant on my windowsill, let me tell you. I have shared a couple of times in the past that I have orchids, and I'm so proud of them, so I had to show you. Two are ones that I've had for a while, and the mini phals are new purchases. You can never feel bad about a plant purchase, in my opinion. Actually, that's been my decoration of choice for the new house. This is the time of year also where I'm buying myself a lot of bouquets of tulips, and that's one indulgence that I haven't stopped, you know, like a cappuccino. I stopped doing that and started making coffee at home, which is a pretty big habit for me, or was when I was pregnant and then postpartum with Arthur. It would be my morning routine, but now I'm saving a little extra, so I thought that, you know, buying flowers, it's always a good idea. I can't not do that. I want to take a moment to interrupt my knitting to tell you a little bit about the sponsor of today's video, Squarespace. With Squarespace, you can start a website tailored to your needs with the new guided design system, Squarespace Blueprint. They have professionally curated layouts and styling options that would work well for your brand, and they are optimized for every device. With their integrated SEO tools, you show up more often to more people and grow the way you want. I think Squarespace is a must-use platform if you're selling knitting patterns or even just interested in sharing your hard work. I've been working with them for years and I have no complaints so far. So check out squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use my code to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Another priority item on my list was to finish up my Mega Erica jumper that's by Spectacle Strick. I started this around the same time as my sweater number 15, but it didn't get constant love like that project did. It had been balled up in a bag, languishing for about a month. But when I finished sweater number 15, I decided that it was time to work on it again. I was on a real finished project high when finishing sweater number 15, and so that really helped me get the motivation to just plow through the sleeves. But then I let it sit again because I was excited to work on other projects, and I just had the collar to do. So today, that was a number one thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to finish up this collar. It's a really beautiful folded neck collar. It's really difficult to see because I'm working with navy yarn. I mean, dark yarn is just really hard to show in video. So I didn't even bother really with close-ups. But here you can kind of see what I'm doing a little bit. I was trying to demonstrate that I'm making a beautiful folded collar with twisted rib. So for the last row, I'm basically joining it with the base of the collar where I picked up the stitches and knitting all of those stitches together and casting off at the same time. It's a little fiddly, but it makes a really, really nice, yeah, look how nice that looks. It makes a really nice folded puffy collar, and I think it really finished off this piece nicely. I really have been working with a lot of twisted rib. I'm wearing twisted rib in the sweater, the Wednesday sweater that I'm wearing, yes. I modified that collar not too long ago to have actually a very similar fit to the one that I'm working on now. And I really love that kind of collar. It's not too high, not too low. The puff is nice and warm. Not that I really need it anymore this time of year, but I was very comfortable in my Wednesday sweater actually while filming this. We're still enjoying crisp, cool spring weather, which I really appreciate. And that kind of stays in Belgium for quite some time. So I think I will be able to wear this Mega Erica jumper a few times before the summer season really kicks off. I was really, really happy to have had plenty of yarn for this project. So I was working with 1 cone of woolly knit merino in the navy colorway. Very, very soft. I'm very happy with the feeling of the yarn because I wound up the last bits of the yarn from a cone. I'm working 2 strands held together, so I had to wind them up in cakes. This one was so loosely wound up that I was just, I was dealing with a lot of tangled yarn by the end of it, but I needed to use all of this yarn because I was running dangerously low. I was worried actually that I might not have enough for a project, but I did. So this is a medium sweater that I'm working up, and I worked it 2 strands held together, and a 500 gram of the woolly knit merino cone actually worked out very well. I still had 1 more loose cake after this, I think. It's really not that much. It's still very much a lot of scraps, but I didn't want to really dive into it until I really had to. So there it is, it's all done. And the last thing that I needed to do was just inspect the garment for any loose ends. I'm really happy with how it looks though. This is also scrunched up, so maybe after blocking it will look really beautiful and satisfying too. But yeah, so here I'm going through with my darning needle and trying to find any ends that I didn't already weave in. Usually I'm pretty good about that now. Just whenever I finish a section, I immediately weave in the ends, but sometimes, I'll find a couple where I was just a little too lazy. But with this sweater, it's really tricky to weave in the ends, because it's a mesh sweater. So I had to be, in some areas, pretty creative on how I was hiding those ends. And I think it turned out okay. Again, working with a darker color yarn like this actually was a really smart move because it just hides any imperfections. So if I wasn't very good at weaving in the ends, you can't really tell. Now that I got all of those projects out of the way, I was excited to get started working on another one, and I filmed a knit and chat on the same day that you guys have already seen. It's already up, and definitely go check that out if you haven't seen it. I wanted to work on another Spectacle strict pattern, and I'll tell you all about that in that video. But here you can see my 2 cast-ons, my new ones. So I was just going with my Ingrid sweater, the one that I'm working in a really beautiful sunflower yellow color. I wasn't sure if I needed the needles for this, so I was just putting them on spare needles. Also just because I was gonna let this project sit for a little while and having those stoppers there, especially with the Ingrid sweater. I was just a little paranoid that usually I don't care, but with something like this, it would be very difficult to kind of repair any drop stitches compared to stockinette. So, you know, since there's a lot of texture, wanted to make sure that I was not going to lose any of those stitches. And then I was just preparing to get ready to cast on. Of course, as soon as I get up, little Miss Molly decides that she wants to steal my spot, but she was just so cute, so I had to show you her as well. So let's do another before shot of this second cast off. I'm really feeling productive today. I really love the way that it looks before blocking. I think sometimes I just do really like the sweaters, the way that they look before blocking, and then when they get all nice and relaxed, I'm not 100% crazy about them, but I was trying my best to show you a before. I don't really know if you can see much of anything. Maybe here you can. I really love that texture. The mesh stitch looks really great, but you can see, like, even with the good lighting that I had, it was very difficult to kind of show what this thing looks like. Hopefully, if I can put it on, you'll be able to see better. But it was time to block it. So I chose to do the bathtub for this one. I needed a little bit more space. The little portable tub that I used for sweater number 15 just didn't work out. So I went upstairs and did a little bathtub wash for my sweater. And while I was letting that sit, I just had some time for some baking. Just a quick aside about this Quaker apples and cinnamon. We got this in the US and oh my gosh, how sweet is it? It is crazy, crazy sweet. I used to love this stuff when I was a teenager, and then we just decided it was way too sweet. So now I'm trying to get rid of all of these things, and so baked oatmeal is the way to go. Just wild. I don't know, did they change the recipe or something? Or maybe my tastes have changed, because in Europe I find that things are not as sweet as the majority of groceries in the US. So not to be all like, oh, the Europe is so much better, but it is crazy when you live somewhere else for a long period of time. Your taste buds are changing, you know, like you get used to other things. So here I'm being responsible and writing down all of the things. This is what progress I got done that day on the Hilda Structure sweater, which again, you can go check out that video to hear more about that. But I decided I wanted to be a good knitter and record everything down the day of. Sometimes do it a little late. So I wanted to make sure I was being responsible so I could share with you details in the future. Finally, as promised, gonna wrap up this video with the after. So here is a quick shot of the before, again, of sweater number 15. I did also show it on the body as well, but since I am pregnant, it's very difficult to get a good angle. So I did put it here also for a side-by-side of what it looked like on the hanger, because then you can really see a nice comparison. So here is the after. I think you can definitely tell it has relaxed. The sleeves are definitely a lot wider. They're sitting wider. The cables look really nice. I just really love this sweater. I think it's so, so lovely in that blue, and then also just the cables. There's something about a cable project. Definitely want to cast on more of those. So I'm really happy with that. Then, of course, here's the before again of the Mega Erica jumper. And after blocking, you can't really tell much of anything, but it's also difficult because of lighting, the yarn color. It's just, there's a lot of factors that make it a little bit more difficult to kind of see change. So I am definitely planning on wearing this in my next podcast video. So you can see maybe just a little bit of what it might look like on the body as well. I won't really promise too much of anything because, again, like 36 weeks pregnant, so it won't look that great, I'm telling you. But yeah, I'm very happy with how this one turned out as well. It looks really lovely. Definitely want to wear it a lot in the future. So thank you so much for spending this day with me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.